Hi, this is the first video in the series for example sums where the issue is oversubscribed. So let's go to the example sum. Example sum: CS Limited invited applications for 1 lakh shares of rupees 50 each, payable as under. On application, rupees 10 per share. On allotment, rupees 15 per share. On first call, due 2 months after allotment, rupees 15 per share. And on second and final call, due 2 months after the first call, rupees 10 per share. Applications were received for 4 lakh shares on 1st January 2020 and allotment was made on 1st February 2020. We are asked to pass the journal entries for the issue of shares under each of the following cases. Case A says, allotted 1 lakh shares in full to the selected applicants and the applications for the remaining 3 lakh shares were rejected. Case B, pro rata allotment of 25% of the shares applied to every applicant to apply the balance of application money towards the amount due on allotment and to refund the balance amount. Case C, reject applications for 2 lakh shares, accept in full applications for 80,000 shares and make a pro rata allotment of 20,000 shares to the remaining applicants. The excess application money should be adjusted towards calls. So we have 3 cases given. On going through the cases, we find that case A is rejection and refund of application money. Case B is pro rata allotment or partial allotment of shares. And case C is combination of rejection of shares and pro rata or partial allotment. We'll deal with each of these 3 cases in detail. We'll begin with case A. Case A. Case A says, allotted 1 lakh shares in full to the selected applicants and the applications for the remaining 3 lakh shares were rejected. Let's make a few notes before we begin. So we have shares applied and shares allotted. We have in the first category shares applied 1 lakh, for which the shares allotted is also rupees 1 lakh. And the second category, shares applied 3 lakh, against which no allotment is made because the shares are rejected. So we have total of the applied shares as 4 lakh shares and the total of the allotted shares as 1 lakh shares. Let's break up the installments. We have application, allotment, first and final call. Amount of application 10, allotment 15, first call is also 15 and the final call is 10, totals to the face value of the share, which is rupees 50. Let's write the dates. The application money was received on 1/1/2020 and the allotment was made on 1/2/2020. The first call was due 2 months after allotment. So that is 1/4/2020. And the final call due 2 months after the first call. So that is 1/6/2020. Now it is enough if we have this notes with us. We don't need the sum. So we'll go ahead with the solution. In the books of CS Limited Journal, we have date, particulars, LF number, debit rupees, and credit rupees. The application money was received on 1st January 2020. Bank account debit, to share application account for the application money received. Number of shares applied, 4 lakh shares, multiplied by application money of 10 rupees per share. So we have 40 lakh rupees. The second entry is on the date of allotment, and the date of allotment is 1st February 2020. So 1st February 2020, share application account debit, to share capital account, and the balance is refunded to bank account. So again, share application account, we have the amount of the first journal entry. Number of shares allotted is 1 lakh shares multiplied by 10 rupees per share. 10 lakh rupees transferred from application to share capital account, and the balance application money on 3 lakh shares at the rate of rupees 10 per share, 30 lakh has been refunded. Narration: application money on 1 lakh shares transferred to share capital and balance refunded. Next, let's make the allotment money due. The allotment money becomes due on the date of the allotment, which is 1st February 2020. Share allotment account debit, to share capital account, for the allotment money due. We have on 1 lakh shares allotment money at the rate of rupees 15 per share due comes up to 15 lakh rupees. Next entry is for the receipt of allotment money, bank account debit to share allotment account. For the allotment money received, the amount due has been received, so it's 15 lakh rupees. On 1st April 2020, the first call money becomes due. Share first call account debit to share capital account. For the first call money due, amount due on 1 lakh shares at the rate of rupees 15 per share. The amount 15 lakh rupees. The next entry, bank account debit to share first call account for the first call money received. The amount received is the amount due, which is 15 lakh rupees. The next entry is to make the final call amount due. The final call amount becomes due on 1st of June 2020. Share final call account debit to share capital account. Final call money due. The amount of final call money due is 1 lakh shares multiplied by 10 rupees per share comes up to 10 lakh rupees. And the final entry is for receipt of the final call money, bank account debit to share final call account. Final call money received. The amount due has been received, so the amount received is 10 lakh rupees. We've completed the journal entries. I will remove the split and we can view all the entries together. So this is the first part of the journal entries. And this is the second part of the journal entries. Let's go to case B. Case B says pro rata allotment of 25% of the shares applied to every applicant and to apply the balance of application money towards the amount due on allotment and refund the balance amount. So this is partial allotment or pro rata allotment. After adjusting the excess application money towards allotment, the balance has to be refunded. So we'll stick to the table with 9 columns because we are not going to transfer the excess application money to the calls. Any excess application after adjusting towards allotment has to be refunded. So let's start with the working notes and prepare the table. The first column, category. Next column, number of shares applied. Next column, number of shares allotted. Application money received. Application money transferred. To share capital. Refund. Allotment money due. Excess application transferred. To allotment. And the final column, bank to allotment. Let's write down the breakup. For application, it's 10 rupees per share. Allotment is 15 rupees per share. First call is 15 rupees and the final call is 10 rupees. The issue is at par and the total comes to 50 rupees. The issue price equal to the face value. Now it says that pro rata allotment of 25% of the shares applied to every applicant. We have the number of shares applied is 4 lakh shares, and against this we will allot 25% of 4 lakh. 25% of 4 lakh is 1/4 and comes up to 1 lakh shares. There is only one category because we know that the number of shares applied by the public is 4 lakh shares and the number of shares allotted is the number of shares issued, which is 1 lakh shares. So let's fill in the table. The application money received, number of shares applied, 4 lakh multiplied by 10 rupees per share, we get 40 lakh rupees. Application money transferred to share capital, number of shares allotted 1 lakh multiplied by application money per share 10 rupees comes up to 10 lakh rupees. We'll come back to the refund column. The allotment money due, number of shares allotted 1 lakh multiplied by 15 rupees per share comes up to rupees 15 lakh. Excess application transferred to allotment. The excess application money that we have is the application money received 40 lakh minus the application money which is transferred to share capital, which is 10 lakh rupees. So the excess application money is 30 lakh rupees. The allotment money due is only 15 lakh rupees. So we can transfer excess application of only rupees 15 lakh from the 30 lakh to allotment. There is still 15 lakh excess application money left. As per the question, we cannot transfer it to the call, but we need to refund it. So that 15 lakh we will enter in the refund column. And the bank to allotment, the allotment money due was 15 lakh. And the entire 15 lakh has been taken from excess application money. So no amount is payable on allotment. Let's total up the columns. Application money received 40 lakh. Application money transferred to share capital 10 lakh rupees. Amount of application money refunded 15 lakh rupees. Allotment money due 15 lakh rupees. Excess application transferred to allotment is also 15 lakh rupees. And no money payable on allotment. So we don't need the question anymore. We just need the table. One last thing that we need to include, we will just write the dates down. The application money was received on 1st January 2020. The allotment was due on 1st February 2020. First call 2 months later after allotment, 1/4/2020, and the final call 2 months after the first call, which is 1/6/2020. So next, let's go ahead with the journal entries. Solution. In the books of CS Limited, journal, we have date, particulars, LF number, debit rupees, and credit rupees. Application money was received on 1st January 2020. Bank account debit to share application account. For the application money received. The amount is the total of the fourth column. This one, the amount is 40 lakh rupees. On the date of allotment, 1st February 2020, the journal entry, share application account debit, the amount of the application money received, 40 lakh rupees, to share capital account. Please note, the amount against share capital account will be the application money which is transferred to share capital, 10 lakh rupees. To share allotment account, the amount transferred from excess application to Transfer to allotment is column number 8, and that is 15 lakh rupees. And to bank account for the amount which is refunded, that is a column number 6, 15 lakh rupees. Please ensure that the total of the debit side tallies with the total of the credit side in your journal entry. This is for application money transferred to share capital account and share allotment account and the balance refunded. Let's make the allotment money due on the date of the allotment, 1st February 2020. Share allotment account debit to share capital account. Allotment money due. Allotment money due is the total of the 7th column, 15 lakh rupees. The next journal entry is for receipt of the allotment money. We do not receive any amount on allotment because all the excess application money covers the full allotment which is due. So we do not have to pass the entry at all. Let's make the first call money due. The first call becomes due on 1st April 2020. Share first call account debit to share capital account for the first call money due. The amount which is due is the number of shares allotted, 1 lakh shares, multiplied by 15 rupees per share. So that's 15 lakh rupees. Next entry is receipt of first call money, bank account debit to share first call account for the first call money received. The total amount due has been received, so we received 15 lakh rupees. Let's make the final call money due 1st June 2020. Share final call account debit to share capital account for final call money due. The amount due, 1 lakh shares allotted, multiplied by 10 rupees payable on final call, 10 lakh rupees. The final entry, bank account debit to share final call account for the final call money received. The entire amount due has been received. So the amount received is 10 lakh rupees. So we've completed the journal entries. I'll remove the split. We can view all the journal entries at once. This is the first part of the journal entries. And this is the second part of the journal entries. Let's move on to case C. Case C says, reject applications for 2 lakh shares, accept full applications for 80,000 shares, and make a pro rata allotment of 20,000 shares to remaining applicants. The excess application money is to be adjusted towards calls. We need to add columns to the 9-column table. For every call that the excess application money is transferred to, we need to add 3 columns. There are 2 calls here, so we need to have additional 3 into 2, 6 columns apart from the usual 9 columns. So we need 9 plus 6 is equal to 15 columns, which is what I have here. So let's write down the notes first. We have the application is rupees 10 per share, and the application amount was received on 1/1/2020. Allotment is due rupees 15 per share, and it's due on 1st February 2020. The first call is 15 per share and due on 1/4/2020, and the final call rupees 10 per share due on 1/6/2020. Let's complete the table. So we have category, number of shares applied, number of shares allotted, application money received, application transferred to share capital, refund, then we have the allotment money due. Next is excess application transferred to allotment, bank to allotment. The additional columns, first call due, excess application to first call, and bank to first call. The last three, final call due, excess application to the final call, and bank to final call. Let's write down the categories. We'll name them A, B, C. Category A, reject applications for 2 lakh shares. So number of shares applied in category A is 2 lakh shares against which no allotment is made because these shares are rejected. Category B, accept full applications for 80,000 shares. So number of shares applied 80,000 and against that number of shares allotted is also 80,000. And category C, make a pro rata allotment of 20,000 shares to the remaining applicants. So we will allot 20,000 shares. The total of the number of shares applied column should come to 4 lakh shares. And the total of number of shares allotted column should come to 1 lakh shares. Now the balancing figure 4 lakh minus 2 lakh 80,000 is 1 lakh 20,000 shares. Next, let's go to fill the other columns. Application money received 10 rupees per share. So it's 20 lakh rupees. Application transfer to share capital nil since no shares have been allotted. The refund column, the entire amount will be refunded, 20 lakh rupees. The other columns are nil because the shares in category A are rejected. Let's go to category B. Application money received at the rate of 10 rupees per share is 8 lakh rupees. Since 80,000 shares are allotted, the application money transferred to share capital is also 8 lakh rupees. There will be no refund in this category. 80,000 multiplied by 15 is the allotment money due, which is 12 lakh rupees. There is no excess application which is transferred to allotment, and the bank to allotment will remain as 12 lakh. The first call money due in the B category is 80,000 multiplied by 15 per share, 12 lakh rupees. No excess application transferred to first call, and bank to first call is also 12 lakh rupees. The final call money due is 80,000 shares multiplied by 10 rupees per share, which is 8 lakh rupees. There is no excess application transferred to the final call, and bank to final call is also 8 lakh rupees. Let's go to category C. Application money received 1,20,000 multiplied by 10 rupees per share, 12 lakh rupees. Amount which is transferred to share capital, 20,000 shares allotted multiplied by 10 rupees per share is 2 lakh rupees. We'll come back to the refund column. Allotment money due is number of shares allotted 20,000 multiplied by 15 rupees per share, comes up to 3 lakh rupees. Excess application transferred to allotment. Excess application money available is 12 lakh minus 2 lakh, 10 lakh, but we limit it to 3 lakh because that's the allotment money due. Bank to allotment is dash. First call money due 20,000 multiplied by 15, 3 lakh rupees. Now we have 7 lakh of excess application money subject to 3 lakh because that is the first call money due and bank to first call is nil. Final call money due 20,000 shares allotted multiplied by 10 rupees per share, 2 lakh rupees. Excess application money out of 4 lakh balance excess application money, we'll transfer 2 lakh rupees. Bank to final call is nil. There is still excess application money of rupees 2 lakh left. So we will put it in the refund column. So the application money received 12 lakh. The amount transferred to share capital will be 2 lakh. The amount refunded is 2 lakh. Amount transferred from application to allotment is 3 lakh. Amount transferred to first call is 3 lakh. And the amount transferred to the final call is 2 lakh. So it's 2 lakh plus 2 lakh plus 3 lakh plus 3 lakh and another 2 lakh. Let's total up the columns. Application money received, total of the columns 20 lakh plus 8 lakh plus another 12 lakh is 40 lakh rupees. Application transfer to share capital, total 8 lakh plus 2 lakh, 10 lakh rupees. Refund amount, total amount refunded 20 lakh plus 2 lakh, 22 lakh rupees. Allotment money due is 15 lakh rupees total. Excess application transfer to allotment, total 3 lakh rupees. Bank to allotment, total 12 lakh rupees. First call money due 15 lakh total. Excess application to first call 3 lakh rupees total. Bank to first call, total 12 lakh rupees. Final call due, total 10 lakh rupees. Excess application to final call 2 lakh rupees. And bank to final call 8 lakh rupees. So we've completed the table with 6 additional columns. Let's use the help of the table to pass the journal entries. Solution. In the books of CS Limited, journal, date, particulars, LF number, debit rupees and credit rupees. The date of receipt of application money, 1st January 2020, bank account debit to share application account for the application money received. The amount of application money received is the total of the 4th column. 40 lakh rupees. The next entry is on the date of the allotment, 1st February 2020. Share application, account debit, 40 lakh rupees. The amount of application money received. 2. Share capital. Amount of application money transferred to share capital is the amount of the fifth column, 10 lakh rupees. 2. Share allotment account. The amount transferred from application to allotment is the amount of the eighth column, total 3 lakh rupees. To bank account, amount refunded, the total of the sixth column, 22 lakh rupees. And excess application transferred to first call is as per the 11th column, 3 lakh rupees. And the excess application transferred to final call is as per the 14th column, 2 lakh rupees. The total amount which is transferred to calls is 3 lakh rupees plus 2 lakh rupees, 5 lakh rupees. We will write that as calls in advance. Account. So the total of amount transferred to first call, 3 lakh rupees, plus the amount transferred to the final call, which is 2 lakh rupees. Total 5 lakh rupees. Narration. Application money. Transferred. To share capital account, share allotment account, and calls and balance refunded. We need to check the total of the debit column is equal to the total of the credit column. Credit column totals to 10 plus 3 plus 22 plus 5 lakh comes up to 40 lakh rupees, which is the total of the debit column. Next, let's make the allotment money due. Same date, 1st February 2020. Share allotment account debit. To share capital account. For the allotment money due. The allotment money due is the total of the 7th column, and that is 15 lakh rupees. Next entry is for receipt of the allotment money. Bank account debit. To share allotment account. For allotment money receipt. The amount is the total of the ninth column after setting off the excess application which is transferred to allotment rupees 3 lakh. So the amount is 12 lakh rupees. We'll make the first call due. The first call becomes due on 1st April 2020. Share first call account debit. To share capital account for first call money due. The amount is the total of the 10th column, 15 lakh rupees. The next entry is for receipt of first call money, and the amount received is the answer to column number 12 lakh rupees. But in addition, we need to pass the entry for transferring the calls in advance pertaining to the first call, which is 3 lakh rupees, to the share first call account. So let's do that. Bank account debit. What we received is the amount of the 12th column, 12 lakh rupees, and the transfer of calls in advance pertaining to the first call, which is 3 lakh rupees, needs to be transferred to share first call account. Comes up to 15 lakh rupees. The narration. First call money received and transfer of calls in advance to the first call account. Let's go on to make the final call due. The final call becomes due on 1st June 2020. Share final call account debit to share capital account. Final call money due. The amount due on final call is the amount of the 13th column, 10 lakh rupees. The final journal entry. We will receive the final call and also transfer the calls in advance pertaining to the final call to the share final call account. Bank account debit, calls in advance account debit, to share final call account. The amount of money received against the final call is the amount of the 15th column, 8 lakh rupees. The amount of calls in advance pertaining to the final call, 2 lakh rupees. Against share final call, we'll write 10 lakh rupees. for final call money received and calls in advance transferred to final call, share final call account. We've completed the journal entries. I'll remove the split. We can view the journal entries all together. That's a table on the top. Which is part of the working notes. The first part of the journal entries. The second part of the journal entries. And the last part. So we've completed this example sum. Let's go on to the next example sum. Next example sum. X Limited issued 8,50,000 equity shares of rupees 10 each at a premium of rupees 3 per share. The whole amount was payable on application. Applications for 20 lakh shares were received. Applications for 3 lakh shares were rejected, and the shares were allotted to the remaining applicants on a pro rata basis. We are asked to pass the necessary journal entries in the books of the company. Before we go ahead with the solution, we'll write a few notes. The face value of the share is rupees 10. It's issued at rupees 3 premium. Therefore, issue price of the share is rupees 13. The total number of shares issued is 8,50,000 equity shares. Number of shares applied for 20 lakh shares. So clearly it's a case of oversubscription. Let's go ahead with the solution. Please remember it's payable in lump sum, which means the entire rupees 13 is payable on application. In the books of X Limited journal, date, particulars, LF number, debit rupees, and credit rupees. The first journal entry is for receipt of application and allotment money. Bank account debit to equity share application and allotment account. For application and allotment money received. Total amount received 20 lakh shares multiplied by 13 rupees per share comes up to 2 crores 60 lakh rupees. Second journal entry, equity share application and allotment account. Debit 2 crores 60 lakh rupees to equity share capital account. Against this, we will write the number of shares allotted. 8,50,000 shares multiplied by the face value of each share, 10 rupees, comes up to 85 lakh rupees. 2. Securities premium reserve account. Amount against this is number of shares allotted 8,50,000 multiplied by 3 rupees premium per share, 25,50,000 rupees. Now the balance, although information is given separately for shares rejected and pro rata allotment, the entire amount is payable in lump sum, so no amount can be transferred to allotment separately. So the entire excess application money has to be refunded to bank account. The excess application money, the excess shares which are applied for is 20 lakh shares minus 8,50,000 equity shares, comes up to 11,50,000 shares multiplied by 13 rupees issue price, the amount payable on application. So on multiplying, we get 1 crore 49 lakh 50,000 rupees. Narration, application money for 8,50,000 equity shares utilized and balance refunded. So this is the answer to the example sum. Please remember, where the entire amount is payable on application in the form of lump sum payment, there is no difference between rejection of shares and pro rata or partial allotment. All the excess application money has to be refunded to the applicants.